what is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody is good. What a Thursday nighter it was. Green Bay and Detroit, they definitely did not disappoint. Put on a damn good show, and Coach Campbell's got some huge kahunas going for it on fourth down at the end there. Unbelievable. This guy's like blood of steel. Unbelievable what's going on. But we're here today, man. Boomer Bust, week number 14. Who's going to boom? Who's going to bust? I got my predictions for y'all as we enter the last week of the fantasy regular season, and we're headed to the postseason for fantasy. It is going to be a big one. Lots of bye weeks, lots of troubles, so we got to know who's going to hit those booms, who's going to not be the good player we're looking for. Let's start with those running backs. We got Isaiah Pacheco taking on the LA Chargers. And okay, it's been a pleasant, option to get Pacheco back last week, but I did caution it to y'all saying, the Chiefs would likely nurse him back just a little bit. That's exactly what was happening last week. He only saw a meek 7 attempts and hit you up with 5 points on the board. Not great overall. And facing the Chargers defense that will be, trying to pitch shutouts without a J.K. Dobbins and potentially no Lad McConkey this week. Chiefs just continue to get the luck. But I'm saying, okay, while the Chiefs, they could unleash Isaiah this week with a little bit more volume. What are we thinking? 10, 12, 14? I'm still thinking, keeping him healthy for the playoffs is basically the real agenda here. And I mean, he could be seen once again this week to be something of a risky play. I'm calling it again with a caution play this week. Bust due to potential low volume, but there is upside here as well as he continues to come back and play ball, but I don't like it this week. If you like him, play him. I'm on the cautiously optimistic approach with Isaiah again this week. Kenneth Walker III taking on those Arizona Cardinals, and I realize many have grown frustrated with Kenny these past few weeks. But I mean, he's just not, he's answering the bell. It's just not on the top end bings that we're looking for. Since week 7, he has not necessarily done the business that we're hoping, but he still does have a nice 80% boom rate thus far, which means he is doing us what we require week to week. It's just not the top end boom caliber games we're looking for. He was outscored last week by Zach Charbonnet, but I mean, okay, it was 11 to I think like 8 or something like that. But taking on the Cards, huge divisional showdown this week. The Hawks, I mean, they could definitely lead and definitely should lean on the ground attack, control some clock, keep Kyler on the bench, control the tempo. Walker is definitely overdue for a big day, and it should come this week. I'm calling boom for K9 this week. Breece Hall taking on the Miami Dolphins. Okay, this has been one of the most up and down seasons for one of my favorite running backs. I was hugely promotive of a Breece Hall this offseason. We know he is a dog, but for me, he is clearly not 100% dealing with that knee injury, but I think it's been for some time now. Wasn't necessarily noted on injury reports, and I noticed he wasn't necessarily running full speed. I mean, he was getting caught from behind. When do we see Breece Hall getting caught from behind, when he's in the open field? Since like about week 5, I think he's been dealing with some kind of ailment, but I mean, he's maintained solid point totals, and I mean, this week they're playing spoiler kill the Fins season as the little chances they have at the postseason anyway. But I mean, the Jets legit really have nothing left to play for this offseason. It's going to be a massive shakeup for this team overall. More touches could also be coming to a Braylon Allen very soon, and I would not be shocked if it does start this week. Breece is not practicing Thursday, I believe. We'll see what he does Friday and Saturday. But, I mean, it puts us in a tough spot fantasy-wise. Miami got torched by Jacobs last week, but have improved overall versus the run of late. I mean, they have done pretty well. Breece does hold a 58% boom rate, which is, absolutely lower than last year's. But he's coming off a bust last week. I think it's more of the same, calling it a close bust for a Breece Hall. Even though we got to play him, I'm still playing him in my leagues, hoping for the best. I am tempering those high-end expectations. Rashad White taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. And I mean, this week, the surging Bucks take on the Raiders, who pushed those Chiefs to the brink, man. I mean, but then again, they didn't get the judgment that they required because Vegas, I mean, they play Kansas City, who's got a horseshoe up their culo, and they just continue to win games. I mean, but they play very hard. I mean, Vegas overall, they're playing very well against certain teams like the Chiefs. They do have letdowns versus others. And I mean, while I do like Bucky this week as well, again, White should have that expanded role because Bucky is dealing with an aggravated hip injury, could barely walk off the field last week. So I would definitely caution that if Bucky does sit, we could see a huge role, big time pulled up for a White. And even if Bucky does play, we could see that role pulled back just a little bit. Even if he does end up sitting, that means Tucker's going to get the play, which would mean massive volume for a Rashad White. He's seen booms in the last 5 of 6. And his role ain't going anywhere, ain't going no place. Easy money this week for great PPR floors. I'm calling a boom for Mr. White as the Bucs need a victory. Wide receivers, Adam Thielen taking on these Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Before anyone gets too excited on the resurgence of Adam Thielen, he might get knocked down back down to earth here versus these Eagles. It could come crashing down big time in a big way. The Panthers, okay, they have taken a leap. Bryce Young has played so much better as of late, and it is a pleasure to see. It's a huge test for this young QB, and it's going to be very difficult versus an Eagles defense that has been very good. But, I mean, was Bryce Young necessarily fortunate of good play, or is it due to circumstance and great play calling and his maturation? We will see. Thielen, he should have a decent floor, especially in garbage time if this game does get out of hand. I do like that part of it as well. You might be biting your fingernails off for most of the contest, but I mean, it's a must-win week for some of us trying to get in the fantasy playoffs. There are better options overall. I'm calling a bust after a nice boom for an Adam Thielen. Calvin Ridley taking on the Jaguars. Okay, and while we should be talking about another wide receiver from the Titans, Nick Westbrook-Akine, who's been a damn TD machine since, week number 8? Unbelievable. But this week I'm going to pivot. It's Calvin Ridley revenge game versus the Jags, even though he only spent 1 year with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's still a revenge game in my eyes, which means he gets an uplift, which means Will Levis, he's played him much better recently as well, which is nice to see. And the only thing keeping Ridley lower on the stat line has been those drops, has been those, penalties, removing his TD catches. It has been quite frustrating overall. No, both teams, they got nothing to play for, nothing but pride at this point. And Calvin Ridley, he's got 3 booms out of the last 6. So at least we see the needle moving in the right direction since they traded a D-Hop. Let's make it 4 out of 7. I'm calling a boom, baby, for a Calvin Ridley. Khalil Shakir taking on the Rams. Okay, seeing the Bills lock up the division in Week 13. Truly wonderful season for my Buffalo Bills. Go Bills Mafia. And one thing, I haven't seen, and I got to speak on it, is Josh Allen, man. We have not seen this man talk the way he's talking right now. The confidence, the sheer confidence in this man that he truly believes when he said, this team, we could play free, and, that's a good thing because we could be a very scary team down the road. And that is, we don't typically see Josh talk like that, man. It's that humble confidence you love to see. This team is definitely on a path for something really special, and it does continue this week versus these Rams. Khalil Shakir, he's been very reliable overall, catching literally everything to come his way. What is he, 90 percentile for catch rate? Unbelievable what he's doing so far, but it has not translated overall to those massive point totals that I was hoping for, but he's been very good as a flex play for us, leaving us to deal with that meek 45% boom rate, simple due in part because he does not score a lot of TDs. Playing versus the Rams in LA, the track should be very fast inside the dome, and the Bills coming off a snow game should be ready to run a lot. Shakir could see one of his better games, this season, and I do believe that a TD should be coming this week because it does not come often. I see a touchdown coming for Khalil Shakir. TD, boom, on the upside for my guy Shakir this week. Darnell Mooney taking on those Minnesota Vikings. Okay, last 2 games for Mooney, they've been kind of, bare since and, regrettable in terms of stat production, but we got to put a lot of, blame on a Kirko Chains looking like loose change at this point on the field, throwing pick sixes, throwing picks to the team like he's donating Thanksgiving dinner. It's not good, man. Facing the Vikes, though, you got to sit here and say, okay, there is potential here. It is a revenge game for Kirko Chains. If he does not figure it out in this contest, we could see Michael Penix the week after. No question about that. We should see a bounce back for Kirk this week, which would lead more opportunities, more production potentially for a Mooney, where he's holding 50% boom rate so far this season. Darnell's been very strong overall, man. He should see more targets once again this week, which I do like. Got to spread that football around. They've been so one-dimensional. Drake London, Bijan, spread the football around. Don't know what's going on in Atlanta right now, but he was to keep pace with his booms. He's 3 booms out of the last 5 games. Been very good overall. all. But I'm saying back to boom for a Mooney after 2 bust games. It's got to come this week versus the Vikings. Tight ends, Cade Otton taking on those Raiders, like I'm saying. Okay, and seeing Cade, he's been one of the better waiver wire tight ends this season, no question. I mean, he's taken a huge back step these last 3 weeks. A lot of people losing faith, dropping him on the waiver wire, back to the waiver wire. And, I mean, not coming close to anything, close to a boom game of, 5-6 points at most. I mean, it's been, between week 6 and 9, that was when he was eating like a fire, and, I mean, everything to come his way. Scoring touchdowns, massive PPR upside. It definitely has cooled off as the Bucs have moved to more ground and pound, received Mike Evans back from injury, so that definitely put a claw in all his target share. But, I mean, if Bucky Irving does sit this week, that's a positive as well for Cade Otton, and we should absolutely see more of an emphasis to get Cade the ball. Having 3 bust games in a row, it's time for a breakout. If feel it coming big time, business is going to be back to booming for a Cade Otton. Cole Kmet taking on the 49ers, and, I mean, even though he's ranked as the 13th tight end, half PPR, you could roll in the end zone 5 times and be a top 10 tight end in fantasy football at this point. And I mean, the Bears, they look like they've taken a slight corner, in that second half. They're moving the football. There still is growing pains. But I mean, Kmet, he still isn't really that guy we hoped he would be, having only 3 booms all season long. I mean, he's basically a frequenter to, being picked up, dropped on that waiver wire, and I don't really foresee a great thing coming against these 49ers. Where some do believe it's a good matchup, I'm still not believing it. 49ers still alive due to close records in the NFC West, and I mean, they should definitely rebound from what they had to deal with in that snow game in Buffalo, but I think they'll play much better than they did last week, even though they got a heaping of injuries all over this team. I'm still calling a bust for a Cole Kmet unless a TD does save his day. Juwan Johnson taking on the New York Giants, and I mean, horrible news coming out of New Orleans. Taysom Hill, the absolutely great football player, not positional player, but he's just a great football player. He's been lost for the season due to that ACL injury, leaving the Saints again to scramble for healthy bodies all over the field. They got nothing left, man. They're going to the free agent market. They're going for people off the couch. And this, I get it, man. The fantasy community, y'all be tired of a Juwan at this point. But, I mean, all he does, you want to preach him up, and then he gets limited production. Everybody gets disappointed. But no Taysom, no Chris Olave. CO2, my guy. And, I mean, MVS, he's been the prime deep threat guy. Still, his share should go up as well. But someone definitely needs to step up to help out in Alvin Kamara in this offense, and Johnson should see more targets to come his way. I definitely foresee a good day coming. Boom! For only the 3rd time this week, but there is good opportunity in target share coming to this man this week. Evan Ingram finish it off versus Tennessee Titans. Okay, Jags announced that Trevor Lawrence, he's done for the year. It wasn't necessarily due to the concussion, but it is to that AC joint that it requires some repair. He's going for surgery. And, I mean, even though he did take that massive shot from Aziz, I mean, I got some opinions on that as well. May not be the popular opinion, but I won't get into it here. But Mac Money Jones, he's set to play this week. Absolutely, had a great second half last week. Showed that he could definitely support some of these talented players on this team. But will it happen again versus the Tennessee Titans now that the Titans can scheme up against a Mac Jones? We'll see. That is definitely a question mark. Evan Ingram should still have a decent floor overall. But, I mean, he's, is it warranted that his upside should be capped? I really, truly believe it. I don't hate the play. It comes with some level of headache, and it could be some, issues with Mac throwing him the football. I'm calling a bust for a Evan Ingram this week as the losing continues for these Jacksonville Jaguars. But there you have it. That is week 14, boomer bust. It's going to be a big week for a lot of y'all. The rest of us that are in the playoffs, I mean, we're sitting back healthy, just getting standings all sorted out. But I got start sit for you guys on Saturday, so definitely stay tuned for that. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts, and we'll see you next time. I am out.